What up, fantasy football fans? I'm Kev Lew. This is the Fantasy Facts Machine. I'm here with Mark the Sneaky Genius Neflas and George the Truth Factory Fuchs. And we are talking about draft strategy when it comes to running backs today. We're going to be talking about some red flags, some other strategies, and just kind of get into what our thought process is when we're drafting running backs. I know for when I draft, I usually use my top two spots on running backs. It doesn't always work out, but that's kind of a general strategy that I stay with. George, are there any items that you keep in mind when you're drafting running backs?
I'm looking for versatility for sure. I'm looking for guys that are able to catch the ball out of the backfield, playing a lot of PPR leagues, half PPR leagues even, guys that will be able to kind of salvage those dud games with 4 catches, 5 catches, maybe a lucky touchdown. Definitely looking for that, and obviously avoiding guys with extended injury history. But at this point, with the top guys, it's hard to find too many who are clean. So
it's hard. I mean, it's hard to like you said, to find any guys that are clean. It's very, very hard. Especially you got 2 guys in Barkley and C-Mac in the top 4, maybe top 3 that seem injury prone.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, you know what I mean? Like when you talk about running back draft strategy, there's pretty much only 2. You're either going to go hard on running backs early, or you're going to go with the 0 running back strategy, which, you know, has worked in the past. But I think that 0 running back strategy has kind of faded because, you know, you've got some of these bell cow guys again. Like that 0 running back strategy was prominent when like almost every backfield was a timeshare backfield. But now you've gotten back to like, you've got these, you know, 5, 6, 7 guys that are really legitimately getting it all. Mm-hmm. And so I think that if you got a shot at getting those guys, you get them. And if you don't, then you can just, you know what I mean? Like you still want to, I feel like if you're not getting 1 or 2 by like the 4th round, dude, I mean, the odds of you finding one on the waiver wire, finding one that late that's really going to be able to produce, I mean, it's going to be a tough deal. So I'm with you guys. Like I like drafting running backs early. I like to get it out of the way. And I'd much rather find a receiver on the waiver wire than to try and find a running back.
Yeah, it's a hard thing. Like if we talked about in another podcast that if we had the choice between a Zeke and Devontae Adams, we might go with Devontae Adams. The problem is then when it comes back to you, there might not be any, you know, top 1 left. Or 2 tier running backs for you. Now you're stuck trying to kind of scramble and figure out who you're going to take at that point. And there's a lot of factors that go into it. Are there any other red flags besides injuries that you kind of have about running backs? Like age is a big one. It seems like, you know, rookie running backs or second year or third year running backs are just way more, sought after than guys who are getting up there in age. I mean, with the exception of Frank Gore, but even, you know, I think we might give up on him this year.
Your kids are going to be drafting Frank Gore. I mean, that's, there's no more Jerome Bettises out there. And also, it's just the lifespan for running back, right? If you're playing, you know, keeper leagues, if you're doing that kind of stuff, like Chris Johnson will have a 2K rushing yard season and then be out of the league in 3 years. Like, you just don't know. You don't want to call it a flash in the pan. There's guys that are Hall of Famers, but again, the lifespan is so limited that you just have to see and predict which guys are on the rise. We talked about guys like Antonio Gibson, like J.K. Dobbins, guys that are, you know, coming up, and you have to be comfortable taking them a little earlier than you probably should, because those are the guys that are going to win you the league this year. That's both a red flag and a positive kind of thing, because you need to be able to gamble with these guys a little bit. There's very few guarantees in this position, which is scary because it's the most sought after position.
How many running backs do you stash on your bench? For instance, last year, J.K. Dobbins, right? He didn't really see that many carries at the beginning of the season, but the people that held on to him or picked him up later in the season, it really paid off for them. And you know, I've done both. I've gone both ways, where I've tried to stash guys and just hope that they get, you know, a lot of playing time. And I'm not talking handcuffs. I'm just talking guys who, you know, have the potential, and there's no huge running back that they're behind, but they're just only getting 7 to 10 carries a game. And you're just waiting for them to break out. Do you guys stash those players, or do you just wait and hope you get them off waivers?
I mean, usually by that time, like, yeah, you're kind of like, if you got a guy that's in that situation that's getting a consistent like 7 to 10 carries or whatnot, kind of like it's kind of like a Gus Edwards type of guy.
Right, exactly.
Right? And I feel like with those guys, like
Jamal Williams.
Yeah, like you hold on to them, and they're more or less, for me at least, when I hold those guys, I hold on to them for bye weeks. You know, when your guys go have a bye week, you plug them in. You know what I mean? You could get a solid 8 to 10 points, and you have a shot at getting like 15 if they score a touchdown. And you know what I mean? Like they could always also be a viable flex play. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so you could hold on to them for a multitude of reasons, and then you could always get to a point in the season where, when you start getting towards the end and you realize that, you know what I mean? Like you got enough depth at the running back, you could just kind of cut them loose and start streamlining your team. But yeah, I'll usually carry at least like one or two of those guys, you know what I mean? Not just for insurance purposes, but also, as an investment,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To see where it goes. And so yeah, like I like to carry a couple extra guys on top of the handcuffs.
Right.
I think the handcuff is more annoying than anything.
Right.
Like carrying Alexander Madison on your bench because he's not even like playable. You know what I mean? But you still gotta still gotta hold on to him. You know what I mean? Like you're not gonna plug him into your flex spot when you got Dalvin in your RB1 spot. Like
it's funny. I had Dalvin in my keeper league, and so essentially I had Madison in my keeper league. You know, it's like
you gotta just hold him. Yeah, you got to.
I was just. You don't want to see someone else pick him up, and then Dalvin goes down.
You can't afford to.
You got that. He's a must. You got to have. If you get Dalvin, you got to get Madison. That is like there's no way fans or buts about it.
Yeah. So if you're lucky enough to stumble upon 2 RB1s, are you keeping 2 handcuffs?
I feel like you have. Yeah. I mean
that's just so painful to think about.
It's just if you're lucky enough to stumble on 2 RB1s, you probably should be smart enough.
It happens. It happens every once in a while.
But if you have a chance to pick up both handcuffs, which more or less I think you will, then you go for it.
Yeah. Hopefully Kareem Hunt's your handcuff.
Yeah. And then you could grab that guy like you were talking about, the 7 to 10 touch guy, and he's your bye week guy. He's your bye week filler. Because obviously during the bye weeks, your handcuff's going to be gone too. So you're going to have somebody to plug in there. Yeah. And at that point, you would have 3 running backs on your bench. You'd have, whatever, Gus Edwards, and you'd have handcuff and handcuff. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So,
or like you look at, we talked about rookies a little bit earlier, but a guy like Josh Kelly last year, where everybody's like, all right, they drafted him. He might not play a lot, but there's a reason they drafted him. This is a guy that, I might be able to sneak into a trade later into the season or something like that. And then before you know it, Austin Eckler's out and Josh Kelly jumps whoever was in front of him. And not that he was all that great last year. Yeah. But
I don't know who's trading for him in that scenario, but I get you.
Not everybody was.
But you know what it is though, is having those type of handcuffs, you trade the person that has Austin Eckler. Like you package him up. That's what I always do, is I'll be like, okay, if I got I forgot what I had, like Chase. I don't know, one of the leagues I had Chase Edmonds, and I had Kenyan Drake, and I was able to get. I think I was able to get. It was a super flex league, so I think I got Brady for because I gave him Edmonds and a receiver, because I was like, but I knew that the key to Edmonds was I was like, look, I'm gonna give you your handcuff. Because you know what I mean? Like he wanted Edmonds. I remember when I drafted Edmonds, he was like, oh, you freaking took my handcuff. You know what I mean? So I knew that. And 4 or 5 weeks later, I was like, I needed a QB. And I'm like, look, I'll give you this and I'll throw in freaking your handcuff Edmonds. And he was like, deal. You know what I mean? So you could use those as bargaining chips.
And as the season progresses, people get desperate. That's just facts of life.
That's facts. That's facts.
Fantasy fun facts right there. But that's what's going to happen. It's happened every year before this, and it's going to happen this year too. And you anticipated a little bit ahead of the other guy, you're gonna do quite well this year. So.
Right. Yeah. No. So, but speaking of Drake and Edmonds, what do you guys think about their potential this year? Just to jump in, we haven't really talked about them in any of that.
I think both of them are. I mean, Drake is going over to Oakland to be Devontae Booker 2.0. Over there.
They gave him decent money for a running back. It's kind of surprising.
And then Edmonds,
considering Josh Jacobs, right?
Right.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe Drake can do the same thing he did the first year at Arizona, where he freaking went off. You know what I mean? And then
he definitely won people leagues. I remember that.
Yeah, because he went off at the back end of the year. Yeah. Dude, he went nuts. Yeah. And but as far as Chase Edmonds goes, I don't know. I feel like
he's showing some flashes.
Yeah, no. I feel like he's got an easier route to the top of his, food chain as far as on that team, because who knows how, James Conner gets hurt every other game. And if I had to bet on who's going to play more games, Josh Jacobs or James Conner, I would probably say Josh Jacobs is going to play more games than James Conner. So by default, I would probably take You know, and they're basically doing the same roles. Like Drake is going over to Oakland to be the pass catching guy, and Edmonds is the pass catching back at Arizona. So they're essentially the same dude.
Right.
And that's what Mark was saying. I'm not high on either guy for sure. Like
that was kind of my thing when I was looking at the teams and who ended up where. I was wondering, like, you know,
I don't know if it makes much sense, but like I don't think Edmonds got a single carry inside the 5 last year.
No.
Like he's gonna get vultured a lot. He can have a couple great games, but he's a receiving back. Like first and foremost, depending on what that offense looks like, I'm sure he'll have some value, but I'm by no means gonna reach for him or feel too bad if I miss out on him.
Yeah. All right. Anything in closing as far as draft strategy, running backs? I'm sure we didn't hit on everything, but if there's anything that you guys want to add to that.
I mean, I'm gonna take Devontae over Zeke. I think we've established that.
That's the key strategy.
And I think that people got to realize, like, the way front offices operate now. I mean, that's what people got to realize when they're looking at young running backs and why young running backs are so sought after. I mean, you could just see it's like they get these young guys on a rookie deal. They run them into the ground, and then they let them go.
Yeah.
But if you get them within that period where they're getting ran into the ground, like there's a lot of value in that. You know what I mean? And if you get them after that, then you get Todd Gurley at the Atlanta Falcons. You know what I mean? Like that's what you get when you miss that window when these teams are just like running these dudes into the ground. So you know what I mean? Like you get that gap where like they're on that first rookie contract and they're going to squeeze every last drop of juice out of this guy before they let him hit the streets.
Yeah.
And so that's where, you know what I mean, the age and all that. And you're basically, when you're betting on these young running backs, you're betting like, is this the year that he's going to get like the full workload? You know what I mean? And so that's what it comes down to. And like you said, like when it comes to age, you know, the flip side to that is you're getting Todd Gurley at the Atlanta Falcons, where you're really just betting on, is he going to be the Todd Gurley of 2015 at the Rams? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like that's really what you're betting on.
Unfortunately, that Todd Gurley's dead.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, that would probably be the last thing, you know what I mean, I would say is when you look at running back situations, is you look at the way the team drafted the running back, the situation behind them, in front of them, all that stuff, and then you can get a pretty good idea of like, okay, what are they planning on doing with this guy? You can look at their history.
Michael Carter's probably that guy this year. I mean,
maybe, yeah.
You know
what I mean? That's why a lot of times you get the second or the third year of their rookie contract. That's where you're really getting, like, you know what I mean, you're getting them at their peak.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So,
George, anything else?
Draft Dalvin Cook. You'll be fine. And,
he's not biased at all. You know.
No, not at all. I'm
he's just banking on getting that top pick in the draft.
As my job, all I tell you is facts.
Yeah. So appreciate you watching. Shoot us a subscription somewhere over here.
Hit the like button.
Wherever that is.
Hit the subscribe button.
On here. We're still figuring this out. But, thanks for watching, and we will be back with some more strategy and fantasy football. Appreciate it. This is Mark Neflas. This is George Fuchs. I'm Kev Lew. Thanks. Peace.
Set up my squad, wake up and pray. Turn on the tube, don't believe what they say. Get out my way, I got sleepers to play. Shooting my shot and I seen who you waved. You waving the flag, I'm just chasing the bag. Almighty special, we taking it back. Doing our dance while you blaming the draft. I'm a machine, just stating the facts. I'm a machine, just stating the facts. I'm a machine, just stating the facts. I'm a machine, just stating the facts.